Hi everyone, audiobook narrator Isaiah Lawson here, and today I'm presenting my newest series, Twist of Fate. This is book 1, titled The Body. In a little town just outside of Chicago, Illinois, Amber Mendez left her apartment as she always did right around 11:30 a.m. on the way to her medical terminology course. One day, she hoped to become a medical examiner. A glass thermometer that she picked up at a thrift store was mounted at the top right of her oak front door on the outside, so that as she left, she could gauge whether or not she needed to wear a sweater that particular day. Today, it was definitely sweater weather, a chilling 54 degrees on this November morning. Amber was a beautiful young woman, though she was unaware of her own appeal. She was the perfect mix of a Puerto Rican father and a German mother. Having pretty green eyes and a stunning smile, it was no problem for her to turn heads and light up any room that she stepped foot in. She was, however, a bit self-conscious about her weight. Most of her aunts and her mother were always a little chubby and often spoke of how it was just how it was for the Mendez women. They were all proud of their beautiful curvaceous figures and often put down the stick figure look to make themselves feel a little bit better. If I could just lose another 16 pounds, I would look right for my body type, Amber would often say. She was a month older than 23, 5'8", and tipping the scale at a whopping 150 pounds. Not overweight by any means, but to Amber, she was 30 pounds too heavy. This was largely due to the fact that she would spend endless hours on days in which she was bored pursuing the magazine ads, where at the time it seemed that the closer a woman was to size 0, the better she looked. Society has a way of altering acceptable reality, and Amber's was skewed for sure, especially considering the fact that she had a thing for slim Abercrombie models who were thinner, tanned, toned guys with a surfer look, and many of these types of men wanted a comparable female look. She often wished she was more attracted to African American and Hispanic men because many of them would constantly hit on her, complimenting her junk in the trunk, as they would call it. One guy actually compared her behind to a fruit, claiming that she had an apple bottom. Unfortunately for her and them, she had no interest in these types of men, only slim, surfer, Caucasian males. As she cruised down the road in her '94 Chevy Camaro, she thought about Robbie Turner, who sat next to her in her college medical terminology class. There were 14 long tables in the classroom, each big enough for 2 people to sit at each table, with about a 2-foot gap on either side before the next table began. While instructor Stan Witt, a wiry old man who was more concerned with counting down the last 253 days until his retirement than teaching, talked about homeostasis, blood clots, and tachycardia as he did countless times before. All she could think about was how she longed for Robbie to ask her out on a date. She had locked eyes with him going to and from class, and occasionally he might ask her to borrow a pencil, which she would overanalyze, of course, but other than that, there was little communication between them. Robbie was 6'1", 170 pounds, and tended to turn most of the heads of all the girls in the class. Heck, just by getting up in the class and doing his presentation on the kidney a week prior, he had all the girls fantasizing about sleeping with him just by talking about how urine was to be filtered. And the way he kept them giggling, you would swear his presentation had a laugh track behind it. Robbie told it like it was, and never bit his tongue, and never did have a filter. He was an alpha male that would tell all the females if he liked her or if he didn't. This is the reason he was so successful with women. Most guys have many women who would date them, though some act shy and never speak up to these women to give love a chance to blossom. Robbie knew that he would date 0 women if he asked 0 out on dates, and was the type of guy who never wanted to live with regrets. Amber couldn't wait to get into class, and even wore a tight turquoise sweater that showed off her beautiful C-cup breasts in an effort to entice Robbie. She would say to friends that she wanted a guy that would love her for her intellect, but knew the harsh reality was that many men are very simple beings who are superficial before anything else. Just before the class start time of 12 on the dot, as the professor would say, she pulled into her usual parking spot. "Cool beans, made it with 5 minutes to spare. And they say females can't drive," she exclaimed. As she got out of her sports car, her cool demeanor was abruptly interrupted as she saw Robbie pull up in his forest green Jeep with a surfboard decal on the back window. "Oh my gosh, he even drives hot," she said. "I have to get into class. I don't want to walk alongside of him. I'll probably say something stupid. I'm having an off day as it is." So she rushed into the classroom where she saw that all of the other students besides herself and Robbie were already in their seats, copying down the words of the day for which the lesson would be about. Exactly 2 minutes after she took her seat, Robbie sat down next to her, looked over, smiled, and then looked at the chalkboard, then at Amber, and began to speak. "Pulmonary edema? What the hell, man? I'm taking this class to become an athletic trainer. I wish we could learn things pertaining to my career choice and not keep doing these weird word lists and watching 70s videos of bad acting telling me how food comes out of an ass," he said. Of course, Amber laughed, trying to focus on hiding her cute little snort, as to not turn Robbie off by any means. After all, he was to be her hubby one day. At least in her mind he was anyway. The class went on as normal, with the professor seeming that it was his life's mission to cure people's inability to sleep by boring the hell out of the 21 students at a time. Maybe the professor put Amber in a daze, or maybe she just didn't get enough sleep the previous night, but something was growing inside of her, a building of courage, and today was the day that she would be as forward as Robbie was when he saw something he wanted. Today, she would ask him out on a date. She was tired of waiting on him and didn't want time to go by with her wondering what if anymore. At the conclusion of the class at 1:30 on the dot, everyone leaped up out of their chairs and beelined for the door, as if they were performing a fire drill. Amber slowed her walk a little bit because she wanted to control fate and time her walk so that they would both reach the parking lot around the same time. As he sidled her, she turned to him and began to speak. "Class was interesting today, huh?" she said. "Well, I mean, as interesting as it can be considering, Wit is the instructor." "You got that right," he said. "His initials are SW as in sleeping well, because that's about all we'll be doing in his class." Robbie always had jokes. "Funny stuff," said Amber. "So, anyway, I need to study for the final more. Do you think maybe we could meet up at one of the coffee houses in Chicago and study together sometime?" The final was 5 weeks away, so Robbie knew she was asking him out. Plus, he was a hot guy, so of course she was. He had let down many a girl next door in his 21 years. "Amber, you're cute and all, but I don't think you're my type," he said. "Remember, I'm going into personal fitness, and to be honest, the only way you would ever see me naked is if you lost a lot of weight. Not being an ass or anything, it's just the truth." But he was being an ass. It's just that he had let so many women down in his past that he failed to care anymore. In fact, he didn't even notice her big green eyes were welling up, her lids at the capacity for tears just before one released one. What made the whole situation worse was that she had never asked anyone out in her life and had never wanted anyone like she wanted Robbie. He had truly broken her heart, and this particular incident would stay with her for years to come. That night, of which she spent half crying and half angry, she spent time cutting up pictures in all of the magazines that she had previously lusted over the male models from within. "Society is so jacked up," she yelled. "All guys care about are boobs and getting a piece of ass. I'm so sick of this dating crap. I'm just going to focus on my career. F love," she said. And that is exactly what she did. For the next 2 years, she avoided relationships like the plague. She also worked out quite a bit, and she was down to 126 pounds. She, however, could not look at herself as adequate because all she saw was the potential to put on the 25 pounds again, which would mean that she was not really her face value. This was the sad web that she wove, which caused her to avoid dating or meeting new guys. One day, while picking up a latte from one of her favorite coffee spots on the way to work, she noticed a cute guy rushing by her towards the door who happened to spot her. It was Robbie, and she hadn't seen him in years. He actually had gotten hotter, believe it or not. He was more toned and ripped than ever before, and he locked eyes with her. "Wow, girl, you look great." "What the? Amber? You're on fire. I remember when I told you the only time you would ever see me naked is if you lost weight. Well, damn, it looks like it's official then. Call me tomorrow. I'm late for an appointment right now and I have to get on the road and speed over there," he said. And with that arrogant remark, he grabbed a business card out of his front pocket and handed it to Amber and rushed out, as if in a hurry to get to an appointment. Amber had a scowl on her face, knowing she would never call him because it wouldn't be right. "Only time you will ever see me naked is if you lose weight," she said. "F that. I don't need a guy like that anyway." Those same words about only seeing him naked if she lost weight echoed in her mind as she could hardly concentrate on her work as an intern at the hospital over the next 2 weeks. During that time, she didn't call him, but she stopped at the coffee house every day with the hope of possibly catching a glimpse of her forbidden man. Not only did she not see him there, but the barista mentioned several times while she was there that she had not seen him either, which was odd because he frequented that coffee shop as well. Coffee was her best friend since she was an intern at the hospital. It seemed like every day they had her in different parts of the hospital, and today she would be working in the 3rd level below ground, B3 to be exact by elevator standards. She walked into a really cold room and looked up where a chubby black nurse recognized her as the intern and told her she needed to get some meat on her bones and that she was too skinny. She then instructed Amber to go over to drawer 7C on the wall and move the contents out for retrieval and transport. After Amber asked the nurse where she was, the black woman told her that this was the morgue, making a joke of it, saying it was in the bowels of the hospital. They both had an awkward laugh as Amber went over to drawer 7C, which was in a darker part of the room, in the corner where it seemed that the light missed. As she opened the drawer part of the way, she saw naked feet, and then knees, followed by the torso of a man in great shape. She was almost sick to her stomach, thinking how she could possibly move this body. A little higher were broad shoulders, and then a face. "Oh my God, Robbie! No, it freaking can't be," she said. The nurse told her about how one fateful day, about a week before, Robbie was speeding and lost control of the car and died. Still preserved, resting peacefully for eternity, a stark naked for Amber's eyes to behold in a time after she was quite able to lose weight, finally got the chance to see Robbie in the nude as he promised.